think we are ready. Hello and welcome to my new live stream dedicated to how to develop your soft skills and how to show your soft skills in job interviews. I'm really glad that you joined me in for this session today. If there is anyone that I haven't met, if you haven't seen my videos before, I'm Marat from Emotion, HR and career consultant. Look me up on LinkedIn. I help businesses and professionals in reaching their employment goals. And on this channel, I help and contribute to your professional growth, such as to acing your job interview, to gaining confidence as a professional, and learning to deal with corporate politics in the right way. I'm very glad to be with you today, and to be honest, the last live session was really enjoyable. Today I decided to talk about soft skills and soft skills during your job interviews, because I think a lot of you know what soft skills are, but you might not know how to make sure that your soft skills are properly noticed during job interviews. So let me tell you how recruiters can tell if the candidates have the required soft skills. It's extremely important to be able to showcase them during your interviews. In this live session, I'll also respond to your questions, which you've already submitted, and I will also be checking for the questions that you are posting in the chat. Hello, I'm saying hello right back to Marie. Very happy to see you, Marie. Vasilis, good to see you as well. Hello from Barcelona to Greece. Make sure, if you're watching, make sure you say hello in the chat. I'll be looking on the chat and I'll be making sure that all the questions are responded. Let me start with explaining what the skills are. Let's say skill is a term that combines knowledge, competencies, abilities to perform a task. And if we put it simple, whatever we use to complete a task, to add value, to add success to our everyday life, are skills. And there are hard skills and soft skills. My last video was exactly about this, which is why I decided to continue and to make it a live session to go deeper into all the required soft skills, and also to explain a little more how the recruiters tend to evaluate these soft skills. If we speak about hard skills, those are the ones that are learned through formal education and training. And these are the skills that you use to complete the task without any interaction with other people, And hard skills can really be demonstrated through tangible evidence, such as degree, certificates, examples of your work, like your portfolio. However, soft skills are known as people skills, also emotional intelligence, and they are defined as someone's ability to interact with other people. Soft skills are all about interaction. Let me see, hello right back, never give up, Asa. I'm stopping right to say hello back, and I'm jumping back into the subject. So soft skills really show the ability of people to interact with others, and they are all about communication and interaction between humans. That's the biggest difference. Okay, so we already said that hard skills are tangible evidence and soft skills are interaction, communication, in exchange between human beings. So how can we tell, as a recruiter, how can I tell if a candidate has soft skills? The soft skills that are required for the position. A lot of times hiring managers can tell if the candidate has soft skills because of the questions. There goes all the job interview questions that you prepare. the way that you respond to them definitely showcase your soft skills, aside from showcasing your knowledge, of course. Especially when it comes to competency-based questions, especially when it comes to behavioral questions that are focused on concrete behaviors and soft skills that the recruiters would like to evaluate. So if we ask specific questions to evaluate each soft skill, and aside from your responses, aside from the response that you give during the job interview, it's also about how you communicate, and it's also about your body language that is very, very, very much noted. The way that you portray yourself, the way that even though the information that you provide and your response is coherent and interesting, and the example that you give is interesting, but the way that you transmit this message is even more important. So keep in mind that everyone has, I also understand that everyone has a certain level of anxiety during the interview process, and I think all the recruiters take that into consideration. But the candidate with good soft skills still overcomes these nerves and manage to exhibit those certain behaviors and soft skills that are needed during the interview. Of course, when we speak about body language, I always mention eye contact, eye contact, eye contact. Sometimes it's almost surreal how some candidates decide to have an interview without really looking in the interviewer's eye, because it makes the interviewer, as a recruiter, I experienced that a lot of times, and it really makes the whole interview awkward. Which is why, if you want to give answers to job interview questions, no matter how much practice you've put, no matter how many questions you have prepared, if you don't carry an eye contact during the interview, you are lost. We always make sure that if the candidate has a hard time looking at you in the eye, or if the candidate is staring down, if it's not really, if the eye contact is not casual and interested, that is definitely not showing the soft skills that this job requires. So make sure you connect with your interviewer by showcasing interest and by maintaining the eye contact. Especially when somebody is talking, especially when the recruiter is talking or the hiring manager is talking, it's extremely important that you don't look down or to the sides or not maintain the eye contact. The eye contact is also a sign of an active listening. One of the most important skills also in terms of soft skills that would be discussing would be organization, because this organization is the way how candidate would perform a particular assignment and the way that they would execute it step by step, or the way that they also construct their speech. You can tell how organized this person is. And at the same time, if the candidate is constantly interrupting you, the interruptions can also make a lot of damage. If the candidate is interrupting you, that is a sign of poor communication skills, and that is definitely going to be considered by the recruiters. You can interrupt at a certain point without really wanting to interrupt, because you suddenly remembered something that you would like to mention, but interrupting constantly is not a good idea, and it's definitely it's not a good sign. It's not a good sign for hiring managers. It's not a good sign for recruiters, so don't do that. The same goes when candidates decide to, instead of responding to question, they decide to avoid the question. or avoid to answer a certain question. That happens especially when you ask a competency-based question, and there is a part there you basically need to provide a certain example for that. And if you don't provide the example you're requesting, or if you decide to switch the topic and provide an answer related to something else, that is basically evasion, and that is also a sign of poor communication skills and of a poor listening skills. So make sure when candidates don't answer direct question, it means they don't really have an answer. That's at least the way that I understand. They don't have an answer, or they just can't focus. So either way, they are trying to avoid answering the question. The way that the candidate delivers their answers, that would tell a lot about soft skills. And also why the employers decide to hire people with soft skills, because we need soft skills for a successful career, for a successful completion of your day-to-day tasks. So hard skills can always be learned through formal education, through training, and it's easier to teach employees hard skills rather than soft skills. And that is something that everybody knows, and it's almost impossible. It's not really impossible. You can teach and you can learn certain soft skills, but it's definitely linked more to your personality, and it's a lot harder, of course, to train and to develop unless you really put an effort into it. So hiring for soft skills is crucial, and each person will be contributing to the company culture. That's why the soft skills are the ones that base the company culture at any structure. The soft skills and the hard skills can't really produce or can't really have an impact on company culture, but soft skills do. So when hiring someone, sometimes the easiest way to find out how your interview is going and what is the recruiter's impression is to understand. I always make this comparison. Would you really imagine yourself working with this person? Do you imagine this person sitting next to you in a bus, in a train, and you feeling comfortable with it? It does seem a little silly when you make such comparison, but it definitely works. If you can, as a candidate as well, perceive this feedback, if you can really imagine working with the recruiter or with the hiring manager that is interviewing you, that's definitely a good sign. That means many times it's mutual, so it means your interview is going well. How a candidate behaves during an interview is an indication that this is the way they will be behaving during their day-to-day responsibilities at work. So I also, and I think everyone really considers, all the hiring managers consider that candidates usually give a lot more during interviews. So they want to show their best side, they want to show their best skills, and of course afterwards you have to consider that this is the best. Most of the candidates, at least, they would show you their best skills and their best abilities. When you are performing your day-to-day tasks, things change. So of course you have to consider that it's going to be a lot less or less than all the skills that you've displayed during the job interview. Coming back to why do you need soft skills for a successful career? I think it's the soft skills can't really be as easily measured as hard skills. but they can really be proven. And a lot of times we can, through our lives, we can have the same soft skill, but a lot more developed on certain stages of our lives. And I think it's quite curious because as a candidate, if I would imagine myself 10 years back, I would think, of course, my communication skills were not as fluent or were not as developed as they are now. And I think it happens to most of us. The same goes to other soft skills like flexibility, like teamwork. The more we work with a team, the better our team playing skills would be. The better team player we are. Let me discuss if the soft skills are not trained or are not used or are not attended, they will diminish over time, and that's a fact. Let me discuss 5 important soft skills that you really need to showcase during your job interviews. And they are definitely going to help you in your interviews, and they will definitely help you through your professional career and even in your personal lives as well. So number one for everyone, I think it's the base, the pillar of soft skills is communication. Everyone needs to understand the information and the messages that you transfer, that you transmit, and that is a communication. It is, as I said, a pillar, and it is a backbone of all the soft skills. You'll have to communicate with your team members, your managers, your internal and external clients, your partners, many other team members that you will work with. So whether it's done through a phone, whether it's done in person, through email or video, you must be a good communicator to be able to be understood and accepted by others. And I also would like to recommend certain things that you can do to practice and to boost your soft skills. And in this case, as we speak about communication, I would like to tell you about how you can boost your communication skills. And this is the fun part. So this is the fun part that is coming. In terms of communication, I think overall, being aware of your body language while communicating is definitely going to help you, as I said, to transmit any message. So the quick way of boosting your communication skills, and even if you transmit the same message, but if you just apply these few tips, the impact of your message is going to be a lot better. As I said, body language, making eye contact, acknowledging the presence of others in the room. I think a lot of times when people start to communicate, they just communicate for themselves. And they just want to say it out loud and that's it and get it over with, but that's not it. So you have to communicate acknowledging the presence of others in the room. Practicing also is helping a lot. If you practice your communication, your formal and conversational speaking, it's definitely going to help. Also, for me, it's really helpful when I write. Writing and reading helps a lot. It helps to enhance, of course, your writing skills. It helps to enhance your vocabulary, and you manage to communicate a lot better as well. So if you take a note of what level of writing skills you have, it's definitely going to help, because if you start proofreading your emails and making sure that there are no grammar mistakes, your communication skills, at least on written level, they are definitely going to be improved. To improve your communication skills further, instead of, these are short-term tips. These are tips that I think any one of us can immediately apply, and we can definitely see an increase of our communication level. But if we go long term, it's definitely going to help if you would join a course or an activity where you would have to interact with others, where you would have to communicate with others. To be honest, it's even if it's an online course, or even if it's a course where you would have to work on certain presentations, it's going to help you. I also say, why don't you, if you really want to improve your communication skills and you can't afford paying for a course, or you don't really know where to start with, and you don't know where to start with, volunteering could help you so much. Volunteering where you could speak in front of a public, it's going to help you a lot. Speaking in a class or watching public speaking related videos online, all of these suggestions are going to improve your communication skills. And of course, being constant and consistent. The next skill that I would like to talk about, which is definitely evaluated through job interviews, is flexibility and adaptability. And it's crucial to escalate your career. You might ask, why do we want employees to be flexible? Or why do employers look for this skill? Flexibility can really tell a lot about you. It can tell if you are capable of working effectively in different situations, in different surroundings as well. It shows how you can handle a change and how you can adapt on short notice. And sometimes, a lot of times, things don't really go as planned. And I think it happens in a lot of places, at many positions. Things never go the way they planned, or a lot of times there are unforeseen changes, and the way that you adapt to them varies a lot. If you don't adapt to changes quickly and well, that would tell a lot about you, about your flexibility overall. So the faster you adapt to changes, the better it is for everyone. It is better for you, it is better for the company, it is better for the team. That's why looking for flexible employers, for flexible employees is a must for nearly all the companies. Because all the employees need to, when you work, you need to meet the deadlines, you need to meet the expectations, and a lot of times the conditions are not ideal. Of course, ideally we would all work for Google or Amazon, or at certain companies where they really work on their employer's brand. But unfortunately, that's a really small percentage of us. And the way that we can adapt to certain situations which are not ideal are definitely going to showcase our adaptability and our flexibility. Being flexible will definitely show employers that you are part of the team, that you are part of the company, and that you are willing to perform the tasks, even if those tasks are not part of your day-to-day role. And to quickly boost your flexibility, in order to boost your flexibility at work, I would really suggest you to adapt to all the new technology, all the new settings without ever complaining. Staying open-minded with others, listening to other people's ideas, not just being there, but really listening. And maybe you could really, maybe this could be a positive change for you. If someone has a great idea and you really like it, you could definitely apply it in your day-to-day role, and it's definitely going to be a positive change for you. Accepting a change is inevitable. So the less we fight with the change. Some of the changes are going to be produced no matter what. So the less we fight it, the better it is for everyone. And to further develop your flexibility and adaptability, you could really rearrange your day sometimes, because a lot of times we have a certain routine, the way that we work, even if we don't work, even at home, we have a certain routine. We do things the same way, let's say, a lot of times. And it's time to rearrange your day, because that will help you to be more flexible and to really get out of your comfort zone. So doing things outside of your comfort zone is definitely a challenge, and you should go for that challenge. It's definitely going to require a certain effort, but it's going to help you to work on your flexibility and to work on your adaptability. Changing your plans to help somebody else, to actually care for somebody else, is also going to be affecting on your adaptability. It's also going to be a big improvement. And the biggest thing that I think for us that makes a huge change in terms of adaptability that we show is never blame others for your mistakes. I think this is an error that a lot of us, I think most of us, we've done this mistake at least once through our career. It's really hard, especially when you are first starting, to acknowledge your mistakes and to really say, to face a failure or to face something that was not done right. And sometimes employees decide to blame others for their mistakes. This is a huge error, and this is definitely going to affect on your flexibility and on your adaptability. The more you acknowledge your mistakes and the less you judge and blame others for mistakes, the better it is for yourself, first of all. So continuing to the soft skill number 3, I think flexibility. We've already discussed flexibility, adaptability. We've already discussed communication skills. So now it's time for teamwork. Teamwork is also extremely important, and it is also evaluated for most of the positions. You will definitely be asked teamwork related questions during your interview, because most of the jobs require teamwork of some sort, and employers really want candidates that are willing to work with others. And to do that, they need to do that effectively. And one of the reasons that you have a good atmosphere at work is thanks to the teamwork spirit. Teamwork spirit immediately improves the culture, the overall working environment and culture within the company. So a lot of professionals really want to stay within organizations that have strong teamwork ethics. When the team functions well, when there is a teamwork, when you are willing to help your colleague, it makes a huge difference in the company culture and in the environment. And it has to be a mutual process. It has to be vice versa. It immediately shows that the company culture is a lot more prepared and it is a lot more enjoyable to be at. It's definitely going to help the company to retain the top talent as well. The more comfortable you are at work, the better your relationships with your colleagues and with your supervisors are, the more productive you will be, and the more beneficial it is for the company. So definitely show and definitely showcase examples of how well you've worked with a team, of how well you interacted with your team members. Keep these examples in your mind and make sure you showcase and you discuss them during the interview. To boost your teamwork as a soft skill, you could definitely help a friend or a colleague when you see that they need some help. This such kind of gesture is definitely going to help your team spirit skills. It's going to be helpful also to accept being helped by others. If you put an effort in working closely with people and you accept their help and you help them, it's immediately boosting your teamwork, and teamwork as a soft skill. For us to recognize or to be really a better team player is whenever we appreciate other people's talents, especially when we can easily say, listen, you are really, really good at this. You have this as a talent. When you make your colleague or your team member feel valued, that's the way of showcasing what a good team player you are. Listening also, as I said before, listening to your team members, focusing on shared interests that you have in common instead of focusing on your differences. This is immediately boosting your teamwork skills. Being active participant, and I think everyone could share examples about it, because remember all the remote meetings, especially during the pandemic. In team meetings online, nobody is speaking, nobody is sharing examples, or the same people sharing examples or speaking over and over again. I think sometimes we can feel that there are moments that when we don't really want to speak as much, but you have to make an effort. If this is a professional setup, you have to make an effort and be an active participant in team meetings. So if preparing well or preparing the topic that you are going to speak about and speaking up in team discussions is going to boost your teamwork skills. Also sharing the information that you have. I think also this is another example that all of us can remember or can imagine, all of us can picture. People at work, remember people at work that don't like sharing information? I'm sure you've seen that. I'm sure you experienced that. There are some team members that don't like sharing information, that don't like teaching others or training others. They immediately will tell you, listen, I'm not really comfortable doing the training. I'm not really good at it. But the truth is, it's not about that. It's about having poor teamwork skills. They don't want to be a good team player. They're not making an effort to be a good team player. So this is the fastest way to evaluate how good their teamwork skills are. Of course, I mean, needless to say, I think it's for everyone extremely important, treating others in a respectful and supportive manner. And this goes for all the team members. This goes for all the supervisors, managers, for everyone. Treating others respectfully and in a supportive manner is part of your work culture and is part of your of how strong your teamwork skills are. What a good team player you are. Continuing further, analytical and problem solving skills. These are actually extremely important for many positions, but a lot of times it's not as easy to showcase them. Why problem solving skills are important? Because problem solving and analytical skills really go hand by hand. Before solving a problem, before we start solving a problem, I think for everyone this is the same way. Before we start solving the problem, we need to analyze and understand where the problem is. where the problem lies. And you need to you need these skills, because whenever something goes wrong, you can either complain about it, and a lot of times the easiest option is complaining about it, or you can just do something about it. So if you analyze and you see the problem, you know that there is a problem. If something is going wrong, just take an action and resolve it. This will definitely get you noticed. So being able to analyze and to think of quick solutions, making quick decisions, is a very important part of a day-to-day for everyone. And companies need problem solvers. All the organizations look for problem solvers. And these problem solvers, most of the times, turn into top performers. Top performers because the company relies on them. The company knows that they can really trust them with difficult situations. So even before the pandemic, the world was already changing, and the past year made all these changes a lot faster, and the way that we work has changed a lot. We don't stay at the job for our whole life anymore. People want to try new things. We want to experience new jobs, and we want to experience and use different skills and different jobs. So the way that we adapt and the way that the flexibility that we show, the more effort we make in learning new things and in staying relevant in the job market, that is going to define you, especially nowadays. So the best way to develop your skills, the best way to develop your problem-solving skills, in this case, the skill that we're discussing, is instead of giving a problem to your manager or to your team, coming with a solution. Come with a solution to your manager, to your boss, instead of coming with a problem. I mention it to people that I've recruited and that I've coached. Whenever you come with a problem, whenever you have a problem that you would like to share with your boss, first think what you are going to offer as a solution. It's going to make a huge difference. The way that the problem is perceived, and the way that you will be perceived as an employee. So make sure you have a way to resolve it before bringing the problem to the manager's attention. Some other quick ways that you could improve your problem-solving skills: if you play logic and puzzle games, logic, puzzle, and different games, it might sound a bit ridiculous, but it's not. Whenever you do all those Sudokus, whenever you do all those puzzles and games, it's definitely helping and training your problem-solving abilities. Also, learn to brainstorm. This is very helpful, especially ever since I've discovered brainstorming. I haven't stopped doing it whenever I have to make a certain decision. Brainstorming, even if you do it by yourself, if you just go through an issue and check different solutions or check different aspects of this problem to solve, the brainstorming is going to give you the right solution as well. So seek out opportunities and problems to resolve. I think in any environment there are always issues, there are always difficult situations and problems that need to be resolved, and sometimes people are not proactive enough in order to take it in their hand and resolve it. So you need to be that proactive person. The more problems you solve, really, the more opportunities you will get at work, the more appreciated you will be as an employee and as a team member. If you don't really know how to solve certain problems, at any position, at any job, there are certain people that perform their job really well, extremely well. They are appreciated by the management. They are appreciated by the employees. So why don't you take a look and see how they resolve problems? The way that these let's say key players within the company resolve problems, the way that they approach the problems will give you an idea of how you could work and how you could resolve problems as well. And the best way to approach any difficult situation and any problem is not having any judgment. Approach the problem without any judgment. And every problem is telling you that there is something that is not working right now, and you need to find a way for it to work. And you can definitely do that. So let's continue to the next soft skill. And the next soft skill that I would like to mention is a positive approach, a positive attitude. Even though we call it positive attitude, it is a soft skill. Don't forget that. Positive people help to motivate the rest of colleagues and to get things done at companies. And not just at companies, even if in our day-to-day life, we tend to get attracted and tend to get to maintain contact a lot more with positive people, because good attitude is something that everybody is looking for. Whether you are an employer, whether you are an employee, or we are speaking about friendship. If a friend has a negative attitude constantly, that is eventually jeopardizing your friendship. The same goes when we speak about the working environment. So employers look for people that see solutions and not problems. So positive attitude is going to immediately boost your chances as a candidate during your job interview. And the way that you could show it, let's say, you have a good attitude and you are just naturally happy to meet people, this is going to be noted immediately. Negative people immediately transfer, at least I feel it, I feel the negative energy. I feel when negative people transfer this energy to others, they immediately become unwanted. They become unwanted in a workplace unless there is a toxic culture installed in that workplace. If we have a toxic culture installed in that workplace, forget my advice, because that's not going to work out. But if we speak about healthy working environment or a healthy friendship that we would like to maintain, the negative approach and negative energy is not going to help. So in order to become a more positive person and a positive employee, there are quick ways that we could develop this soft skill and improve this soft skill. Smile often. Whenever I schedule, as a recruiter, I have to deal with a lot of external candidates, and I schedule interviews with the final company, with the hiring manager or the team members that are interviewing the candidate. My first advice always, whenever I do this orientation on the phone, please don't forget to smile. And I always say this because the impression that you give changes drastically. So smile to become a more positive person, to develop positive attitude as a soft skill. Smile often. Don't be a complainer. It doesn't mean, in some cultures, smiling too much might be considered a little bit ridiculous or not serious enough. Forget about it. Forget about people that would like to judge you because you smile. I mean, don't care about people that judge a smile, because smiling often shows so much more than a serious face, and is going to open a lot more doors for you rather than a serious face. That's why don't be afraid, and don't be afraid of being judged when you are smiling. Another thing, in order to become a more positive person, is not being a complainer, because complaining and moaning constantly immediately cuts you off from positive solutions, and even from general solutions to problems. So don't be a moaner, don't be a complainer. That is going to boost your positive attitude and your positivity in general. Also spend time. This is why what I said before, like attract like. Let's say like attracts like, and you always attract the same kind of attitude that you project. If you smile and you are a positive person, you will attract similar people. And if you are a negative person and you have a negative people, eventually you are going to attract negative things and negative people to your life. So if you don't do it, if you are not doing it yet, or if you haven't done it already, don't wait. Start becoming a more positive person, a more positive employee. It's definitely going to open doors for you and bring future opportunities. And it's not about future even, it's going to happen to you right now. Value small things, appreciate all the things that you have. It's immediately going to help you. Not just smile for no reason, or not just being positive for the sake of it, or forcing this soft skill on yourself. But if we approach it in a positive way, if we approach it in a appreciative way, like I'm thankful for my job, I'm thankful for my life, I'm thankful for all the people that I have in my life. That's valuing small things, or not small things, that's valuing things in general. That is going to be making you a more positive person, and that is definitely going to show during your job interviews. Okay, these are the 5 main ones. As I said, I wanted to discuss 5 main ones, and then I would quickly go through a few other desirable soft skills at the workplace. It would be time management, because being able to manage your time and to perform different tasks, multiple tasks, at certain jobs, it's a positive thing, performing multiple tasks at the same time, and it could really define your job performance. The same goes to organization and planning. I've mentioned it really quickly, but the job becomes a lot easier when you are an organized person. With proper organizing and planning, the job becomes much easier. The same goes decision making. And decision making, I think this is this soft skill is a must if you really want to lead a team, and if you want to become a leader, or just if you want to be successful in your job and really grow professionally. Any business needs decision makers. There are always decisions that need to be taken to make sure that the business operates correctly. So the better you are and the quicker you are at making good decisions, the more you are valued as an employee. And this is the thing, these questions are a little tricky. The questions related to decision making, they might seem like a test. They are testing me. They might give you the most common question, like what reactions are going to be produced if a colleague would tell you this, or if a client approached you with this question, what would you respond? It's not about what you respond. It's about the way, it's about how fast you take the decision and respond to them. So decision making is one of the competencies, is one of the soft skills that will be evaluated as well. And the list of soft skills really goes beyond all of these. And once you start working on the ones that I mentioned, or 1, 2, 3, it doesn't matter. Once you start working on your soft skills, all of them are going to improve. One skill, one soft skill directly or indirectly affects other soft skills. So the more you grow and the better you become at a certain soft skill, the better you will be becoming at other soft skills as well. And really, aside from the ones that I mentioned as well, the digital and tech skills are also becoming a lot more relevant nowadays. I want to mention it because a lot of times, and some of us feel a bit lazy when we start digging into technology, and we just want to leave it for somebody else. But it's good for us to be more to just dive in and try to Google and research information, and to make sure that we find an answer to this technical issue or to technical problem. Eventually, this will help you to adopt a tech-savvy mindset. And the same goes to creativity. I always want to force and to get more creative. That's why even, let's say, even before the pandemic, the creativity was extremely valued. But now, a lot of times, we need a creative way of functioning. A lot of businesses needed to restructure their companies, needed to restructure the way that they operate as a business. And that's because of creativity. And as running a company myself, I needed to find creative solutions to different problems that I had, or to different difficulties, especially through a pandemic. So I'm actually the person that is working constantly and trying to become more creative. And in order to do that, you really need to experiment different and new environments, and not silence your inner curious person, inner child. It's really going to help if you use your imagination, if you try new things, if you connect with people that you consider creative, that you could learn from. That's definitely going to be an added value. Okay, so I would like to also mention emotional intelligence, because if we speak about soft skills, soft skills generally, they are very connected to emotional intelligence. It's your ability to understand and be aware of your emotions and emotions of others. So the way that the emotional intelligence is transmitted is through empathy and through collaboration. And that involves all the soft skills that we mentioned. Soft skills in terms of, you can never really fully master all the soft skills. It's really impossible. And I always tell it to my friends that sometimes deal with difficult issues, or to professionals that I've coached. Don't be too hard on yourself, because nothing is going to be perfect ever. And the same goes to soft skills. You will never fully master all the soft skills, but you will definitely grow. And that's about the growth. The growth is what you are going to take from the training and from improving your soft skills. I'm done with the soft skills explanation, and I will proceed to questions. And let me see what questions do we have over here. If you haven't submitted your question, make sure you type it and you submit it. I'm going to respond to it as soon as possible, in terms of the as soon as it reaches the turn, I'm going to give you the answer that you are looking for. So let me see. The first question, I see that there is a question: What to do at the end of the interview? What is the right way of ending an interview? It's a good question. You know, ending an interview can be even more important than an actual interview, because this is the closure, this is the last impression. First impressions are important, but the last impressions as well. This is the impression that is going to last as soon as you leave the company, leave the building, leave the interview. So make sure you always prepare the way that you finish your job interview. So that means having your job interview questions prepared, having the questions for an interviewer prepared, because the way that you finish your interview is most of the times through questions as well. If you ask for the next steps, that is definitely the right way of finishing an interview. If you thank the interviewers for their time, and ideally if you send a thank you note on the same day or the next day, to make sure that you show how grateful you are for the interview opportunity and for their time. Okay, let me proceed to the next question. I think my interview didn't go well because the interviewer wasn't too interested. Do you think I still have a chance? It depends. If you felt that your interviewer was not too impressed or was not too interested, that's definitely not a good sign. And I have to be honest with you, unfortunately, that is not a good sign. Especially if you've seen your interviewer checking the paperwork, looking at their watch continuously, that's definitely not a good sign. But sometimes they could have a meeting afterwards, so there could be many other different variations that we can't know and we need to consider. If the person might not be sometimes recruiters or hiring managers are not as extroverted or are not showing their interest directly, or something can be on their mind. So don't immediately assume that everything went awful or that you don't have a chance. Wait, follow up, get the feedback, and that way you can really find out. Otherwise, as I always say, continue searching, continue looking for other positions and applying for other positions, because nothing is guaranteed. When it comes to job interviews, nothing is guaranteed. Okay, let me proceed to the next question. Okay, I see there is a question in the chat. I have been working as a lecturer for 8 years now, and I'm currently doing my MBA. Would the advantage of having an MBA at the age of 35 provide an opportunity to enter the world of consulting? Okay, Kenneth, that is definitely going to help. Again, we're speaking about hard skills, because your MBA, it is going to develop your soft skills as well, but it is mostly going to improve your hard skills. I would say, especially for the consulting industry, they always value MBAs. Certain consulting companies, they are always eyeing for candidates that are overall well prepared and that have an MBA. If you haven't chosen which MBA, because I think you are already doing the MBA. A lot of things also depend on what kind of MBA you are doing, on where you are doing your MBA. Do you think your school is valued generally in the market? It doesn't have to be a super expensive MBA, but as long as there is a good reputation and as long as you think that the MBA is really delivering its results, you will definitely going to find a job in a consulting, believe me. If I haven't responded, if there is any other doubt, go ahead and continue and ask me for Henley Business School, University of Reading. And I don't know exactly how good that business school is, but it's a specific University of Reading as well. I think you will have the opportunities that you are looking for. And if you don't, you'll have to chase them. Okay, let me proceed further. The next question would be, what are the typical mistakes? Kenneth, if you have any other doubts, go ahead and ask me. I'll be more than happy to respond further. So what are the typical mistakes that can get me rejected in interviews? Since we're talking about soft skills, I think the mistakes when it comes to soft skills that are going to get you rejected is basically failing to show any of the soft skills which have been mentioned by me before. So aside from failing to show soft skills, it's also doing certain things like giving out your personal details. A lot of personal details, speaking about your life, that is not really necessary. I have seen many candidates getting rejected because of that. When they start talking about their family, parents, kids in a job interview, it's not really surprising, but it can be common. But when you are doing it too much, that's not going to be helping when it comes to your chances of getting a job. Also, not asking questions, as I said, not asking questions to your interviewers. This is going to show a lack of interest, and it can be a reason for rejections. And I think also when a lot of candidates like telling things that they can't really support with examples, that's really considered bragging. Many times, if you can't give an example, if you can't really provide evidence of the competency that is discussed, or of the question that you are being asked, recruiters and hiring managers can really think that you are bragging without any justification. So let's admit, sometimes we could do that, and it's not always it doesn't always have such negative consequences. But on job interviews, please don't do this. If you don't have evidence to back up your response, don't give this response, because that is immediately going to be considered bragging, and you can really get rejected. Okay, so the same if another thing for you to get rejected during the job interview, aside from everything mentioned before, could be using too many slang words or being too informal. If you use an informal language, or if you swear, you are going to be rejected for sure. But if you use too many slang words as well, it's not going to cause a positive impression on interviewers. Okay, let me proceed to the next question. Kenneth, you are very welcome, by the way. Okay, the next question. Is it a bad idea to apply to more than one job in the same company? It is. It is a very bad idea. Applying to more than one job in the same company is going to kill your chances, believe me. Unless you've done it with the same CV, and unless you know with the same resume, and unless you know that you are a good candidate for both positions. But if you are just fishing for opportunities, that's not going to help. Let me tell you a little example that has happened to me recently. I was working with a company where I presented finalists as candidates to cover a certain position. It was a finance-related position. It was not a senior role, which is why a few candidates, one of the candidates especially, was a young candidate with not too much experience, but he had good chances, he had good attitude and a good resume, and I thought he would be a good option for me to present to the company. So I presented him as a candidate. The next thing I find out that the candidate applied to a more junior role within the same company. So when I speak with the hiring manager, when I speak with my client, they are telling me that they already know this person because this person has applied to another position, and even I think 2 positions, aside from the one which I presented this candidate for. So needless to say that the candidate was rejected for all the roles, and I was really disappointed with the candidate as well because you don't do that. Especially if you're working with a recruiter and you've already applied for one position, don't apply to another position yourself, because you are going to ruin your chances, you are going to ruin your reputation and even damage the reputation of the recruiter that is helping you and that is carrying this recruitment project. So, and also another reason why we can't apply to different positions within the same company is because, remember, you need to tailor your resume per each role. So when you apply to different roles, unless it's the same or very similar position, you will need to tailor your resume to these positions. And when the hiring manager is checking on, when the HR is checking your resume, they see differences in your resume because if the resume was tailored to each role, it's a big no-no. So don't do that. Okay. The next question would be, I am negotiating a salary with the company. Can I lose a job over salary negotiation? You can. You can lose a job over salary negotiation. Of course you can. If you are being greedy and if you are being too ambitious, you can lose a position. Keep in mind that recruiters within the company, they have, of course, they can hire a person in a higher range of salary. They can consider a candidate that are slightly out of the salary range, or their expectations are slightly out of their salary range, unless if the candidate is valid, if the candidate is a strong candidate, they can definitely consider paying this candidate more. But if there is somebody else available for the same role whose salary expectations are lower, believe me, they are going to opt for the candidate that are with less expectations, especially for certain roles. So don't be over negotiating, because salary negotiation is quite normal for all the businesses. Everybody is used to negotiate salary. All the businesses are used to negotiate salary with their future employers. But being too greedy and not being flexible can definitely cost you the job. Okay. The next question is about an employment gap. How can I justify an employment gap? I find it really curious that I get employment gap questions quite often. It's also, I find it positive. It also means that that we're becoming more and more used to employment gaps, and I think the companies are also quite used to seeing certain employment gaps. It's not the end of the world. You can definitely justify it, and you can definitely provide what depends on what reasons. What were your reasons for this employment gap, and how long the gap has been for? Of course, it's always good to be truthful when you are speaking about employment gaps. It's always good to be truthful. It's always good to be transparent. And it's always good to put a positive spin on it. Of course, depending on the situation, if you've been taking care of a family member, or if you've been studying a certain a master degree, or anything else that is related to your professional growth, everything can be justified and everything can be explained, as long as you do it in a positive way, as long as you also mentioned that you are ready for the role, that you are ready to work hard. That's what the employer really wants to hear whenever you are justifying, whenever you are speaking about your employment gap. Okay, any other questions? I have the last question over here. If you have any questions, please submit it, because I have this last question which I'm going to proceed with. I said I'm a really good team player during the interview, and the hiring manager asked me if I prefer working with a team or working alone. This is a question that I think I've already been asked something similar. You will always, whenever we speak about teamwork, you will always be requested to give and to provide evidence and to provide examples of your teamwork. And I think when you are being asked if you are working better by yourself, or if you're working better in a team, the best way to answer it is to make sure you appear and you project confidence, and you appear confident about working in both situations, that you are good and you are comfortable when it comes to working in a team, and that you are completely comfortable when it comes to working alone. That would be the key answer. Okay, if you have any further doubts, go ahead and respond to the video which I'm going to this live stream which I'm going to share. But for now, I have to thank you very much. This has been a really fun stream. I really enjoyed. Thank you very much for your time and for joining me today. Hope you have a good Sunday for some of you, or an excellent start of the week for others in different time zones. I appreciate you coming and joining me.